Ivan is a gorilla, the main star of a circus show, whose name is the one and only Ivan. Located in the Big Top Mall, for 20 years, various audiences come from all over to watch the show, Ivan and his friend. Whenever the show starts, Max is the host. The owner of the circus opened the event with great enthusiasm in front of the audience. Max then introduced all the performers one by one, starting with Henry, that is a hen, who's very good at baseball. Frankie Seals, who are good at playing ball. Marpy, the firefighter rabbit. There's also Stella, which is an elephant that got the nickname Big Top Queen. Stella is Ivan's best friend, the oldest and most experienced in the place. He's been doing his circus show a long time, even before Ivan was born. Then there are Sneakers, with Anjing Pudley, who collaborated with Stella to make the show even more festive. And the last one must be the main star, the one and only. Ivan's task is very simple. He just needs to scream and hit his chest. Just make all the audience scared. And yep, that's the show performed by Ivan and his friends for so many years. Every night after the show is over, the animals will go back into their cages. There was a girl named Julia. Julia is George's child, a worker at the circus. Julia used to come to Ivan's cage every night. And some nights, while Julia was sitting next to Ivan, Max came and asked how she was. Even Max gives money on Julia to buy new crayons, because the old crayon has almost run out of use. Drawing every day. Not long after Julia left, Max and George discuss about the problems they are facing right now, because apparently their show is getting quieter and quieter. In the end, the income they get is also less. George is still thinking positively that this must be because the kids haven't had school off. Later, also on vacation, surely the audience will be crowded again. Well, after that, Max invited Ivan to chat. There, he took a deep breath and said that the current circus situation is very quiet. Even the money that comes in is not enough to pay the rent, and so forth. Max also said that all have to work together, looking for a sense so that the circus can be crowded again. If it continues like this, over time the circus will definitely close. Heard Max's complaints that Ivan could only be silent. But every night, Ivan is always brooding in his cage, while looking at the beautiful sky that he could only see through the window. He never once feel the beautiful night sky freely. In Ivan's cage, there was also his best friend's stray dog, who secretly infiltrate and slept on Ivan's stomach. But unfortunately, Max doesn't like the stray dog. While Stella, the old elephant, her cage was right beside Ivan's. Every night, Stella and Ivan were always chatting and sharing stories, their respective past, and also the time when the circus was crowded again. Crowds of visitors. Then Stella said that human actually does like one thing from animals and that humans love about gorillas was his anger. Max, whom Ivan had considered as his own father, he told Ivan that anger is a precious thing. Anger can be used to protect order and protect yourself from harm. But in this place, Ivan felt that there was nothing dangerous at all. So sometimes he found it hard to roar angrily for no reason. They both fell asleep that night. The next day, the show restarted. Ivan tried to fix the action. He grumbled excitedly to demonstrate his savagery while pounding his chest, and the audience applauded. But still, there are still a lot of empty seats. At night, Julia returns to visit Ivan in his cage. But this time, Julia gives his old crayon and a few pieces of paper on Ivan. It was because he often saw Ivan while drawing. And after that, Julia went home with her father. That night, Ivan, he kept thinking about what he would do with the crayons. The crayon, until he saw a beetle creeping in the Jeruji cage, and then excitedly even began to scratch the crayon to draw the beetle. One day, Max gets word that one of his jobs is out because the circus is getting quiet. And the next day, the show is still the same, which is quiet. Once it's done, Julia came over to Ivan's cage while showing his drawing book. In that book, he drew his stray dog best friend, and Ivan, he named the dog Bob. Suddenly, accidentally, Julia looked at the paper on by Ivan's feet and saw the picture. Julia immediately called his father to show the picture. With confidence, he said that Ivan has managed to draw a beetle. Heard that, Ivan was shocked, because only Julia, who can tell if the picture is a picture of a gumbang. I watched this movie myself. Thought the picture was a picture of a horse. The next day, apparently the show was canceled, because there was an animal, a new circus member who wanted to come. The whole animal gets excited, all busy guessing what animal is coming. And it turns out, the animal is a baby elephant named Ruby. Slowly, Ruby came out to fascinate the whole animal. All the cute little elephant baby. Ruby has never performed on a circus stage at all, but Max is sure Ruby will be a new star in the circus and will make the circus crowded with spectators again. That night, Ruby slept in the same cage as Stella. There, Ruby then asked, "Is Ivan a monkey?" Ivan also shook his head and explained that he wasn't a monkey, but he was a horse. I mean gorilla. Ruby also asked about Ivan's doll, but Ivan wouldn't answer. He just told me that the name of the doll was Notek. Day after day passed. Every night, Ivan can never sleep because Ruby always bothered him and asked him to read a story before Ruby sleeps. One day, a big banner with Ruby on it, closing his giant sign, Ivan, and that day. The audience is very large, filled the entire seat, show back to life in full. As all audiences look forward to Ruby's performance, the new star, Bob was there trying to comfort Ivan, who looked upset. Ivan was envious of Ruby's presence, who is now the audience's new idol. Even Julia, who usually always came to Ivan's cage, now he'd rather come to Ruby's cage. But there, when Julia watched Stella, there was something wrong with Stella's leg. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. Julia immediately called her father, and after they checked Stella's legs, that was finally decided temporarily. Stella can't perform first at the show until her legs heal. At night, after Stella finished bathing Ruby, they sat down, and then Stella started telling her past. Back when Stella, still small, he lives with his family and herds of other elephants in the wild. One day he went out looking for water and slipped down into a large hole filled with mud. There happened to be a little girl Julia's age who heard Stella's cries and told the villagers, until finally they came and set free Stella from the mud trap. That together, hear that story. Ruby was surprised. Even Bob was shocked too, because they don't think people can do good to animals. Stella also said that not all humans are evil. After that, all of a sudden, Ruby asked that whether someday you can live free in the wild too. Stella then told her that not far from the circus, there is a safe place. There are many trees, grass and lake, a place where animals are free to roam like in the wild. And finally, they fell asleep. The next day, the show took place without Stella present. That still hurts, and for the first time, Ruby must appear alone without Stella. Despite being afraid and shy, Ruby finally slowly wants to come out. Just by standing on stage, the entire audience already so happy and clapping, and the performance that day was a success. At night, Ruby, who is hungry and can't sleep because he wants to eat carrots, even tried to entertain by drawing carrots for her. Looking at that, Ruby was so happy because apparently Ivan can draw really good. After that, because Stella is still sick, Ivan will replace him. Told a story on Ruby for bedtime. The story is about a baby gorilla whose name was Ivan. Little Ivan in a diaper and drink milk from a bottle. He was adopted by Mac, and his wife were always with Ivan. That baby gorilla lives in a nice house and even slept with her human parents. He was very spoiled and invited to go everywhere, playing in the park and so forth. But the baby gorilla gradually become naughty. It ruins everything until his wife, Max, feels like he can't take it anymore and finally left the two of them. One day, Max took her to a ride. That baby gorilla have a new house there that was built specifically for his, and ever since then, until this moment, the gorilla lived there. When Ruby was asleep, Stella woke up and called Ivan. He forced Ivan to promise to always keep Ruby, because Stella feel like he can't hold on any longer. Stella wants, one day Ruby can live freely, breathing cool and warm outdoor air, and heard all Stella's requests. Ivan finally promised. That night, as the others sleep, Stella finally closed his eyes and breathed his last in front of Ivan. No more days with Stella there. All felt a very deep sadness. Everything in that place, as if they have no more spirit, Max included. But the show must go on. And now Mac has to train Ruby to be able to perform shows and replace Stella day after day. Max continued to train Ruby with discipline to make Ruby exhausted. See the thing, Bob reminded Ivan that he had a promise to Stella that he would save Ruby out of the place. But Ivan didn't want to disappoint Max, who had taken care of him since that childhood, to be confused and don't want to get out of there. Until one day, Julia comes and Ivan gives a few pieces of paper. Looking at that, Julia also felt very amazed. And Max, who happened to be passing by, look at that picture and ask, who drew it? When Julia said that Ivan was the one who drew, then Max suddenly felt that the gorilla who can draw is sure to be excited, and the audience will love it. With great enthusiasm, Max asked Ivan to perform for a drawing, but Ivan refused. Max got so mad at Ivan. That's when Ivan was also angry with Max, finally decided to keep his promise to Stella. Ivan begins to devise a plan to escape and invites his friends. That night, Ivan broke down the door with his force until the alarm sounds loud. After they arrived outside, they all feel happy for having made it free. With great enthusiasm, they immediately ran to follow the rare Bob, who have memorized the roads in the area. Not far from the mall, there was a forest, and they immediately ran there with a very happy heart, because eventually they can actually be free. But apparently, place that they thought was a forest, that it was just a city park. On the other side, Max is getting the report that the animals in his circus had run off. He immediately rushed back to his ride. He chased them to the city park. When Max gets there, Max also tried to persuade to get back on the rides, because it's not a safe place out there, especially for the Ruby, who is still a baby. Ivan was disappointed. Because of the forest, he imagined it was just a city park, and then came home with Max. In that cage, Ruby, who can't sleep, asked Ivan to tell what the actual wild feels like. Ivan then began to tell Ruby about her real family and parents. Ivan's parents called him the Mood, because little Ivan always ran and played mud. He used that mud to draw whatever was on his head. He can even draw all day. Then his father, who thought that his behavior strange, so his father tried to teach him to be strong, like a real gorilla. But he still, I can't, but even so, my father still loves her. The only thing Ivan likes apart from drawing is playing with her sister named. They are very happy because they can play all day. Until one day when he was drawing, the atmosphere felt different. And it's weird, that's when the father pulled him and took him running as fast as possible with the rest of the herd. But there, unfortunately, they both separated from the others with gallant Brave. The father, who tried to protect Ivan, finally went up against those hunters. But Ivan never saw his father and his pack again. He missed his brother until he also named his doll with the name Notek, which means not tech, because until whenever, the doll will never could replace the tag in his heart. Tomorrow everything is normal. As usual, Ruby returned to training with Max not long after. Julia came and invited Ivan to chat and brought her new hand paint to Ivan. He told me that his mother is currently sick. Then from that, Julia keeps drawing her healthy mother every day, so that one day, her image could come true and her mother could be cured. Julia says Ivan wants something. What I want to be. Then Ivan can try to draw his wish. At night, Ivan couldn't sleep, because thinking about all Julia's words. Until finally, Ivan used the paint that Julia gave him. And he started painting. He continues to paint what is real. Her heart wants tirelessly all night. Morning day Poon arrived. Max came to the ride excitedly, without knowing what Ivan was doing. When the show was about to begin, Max was interrupted by a group of reporters who asked about what happened the night before. They asked if it was true that all the animals on the ride escaped. But Max also said everything was fine, and even now everyone is ready to do the show. But the reporters didn't seem to believe the statement. They keep urging Max to admit it. Max knows if he's telling the truth, then everyone will think that the animals on the rides are in trouble, and the news will definitely be very detrimental to the circus show later. And finally, the show began. All performed well. And the audience enjoyed it. Even rubies have dared to go forward and display the attractions of the outside. Ordinary until the time came when the main star of the circus, the one and only iPhone, when the screen opens. Immediately, the atmosphere became very quiet. Then all the spectators applauded with great fanfare. On the other hand, Ivan behind the glass looks disappointed, because no one understands the message you want. He said through his painting that it wants to be free, but she doesn't know how to reveal it to humans. He can only draw scenery. The mountains are green with birds. Grass bird, and beautiful trees from the chat given by Julia that... But when Julia takes another deeper look at the end, because Julia was always close to the animals, circus animals in there, so Julia also realized and understood the message from Ivan's picture, that Ivan wants to be free. Julia then immediately ran to her father. He then told her, his father, about a message from Ivan's painting. George in there felt a dilemma. The circus is the source of his income. If all animals are free, they will lose their jobs. But when remembering, Ivan has been in the circus for 20 years. George eventually tried to give it up and choose to support. Julia's son then had an idea for a message. Ivan that can be conveyed. He asked the reporters for help the next day. In the day, a large demonstration demanding the release of Ivan and the animals, other animals, as well as having them returned into the wild, happens beyond the rides. The news spread everywhere and was broadcast all over the media. After seeing the news and demands that have been unstoppable, Mac decided to be sincere. All the animals returned to their own habitats. Finally, the day that has been decades, Ivan will wait for it to arrive. All the animals say goodbye to each other with both joy and sadness, because there will be no separation. Ivan, who accompanied Ruby, told me before going to bed after that. Ruby was then brought by a doctor named Maya will take care of him. Until Ruby is ready to return to her flock, all the animals have gone one by one. Ivan is alone with Bob. Then Bob also said goodbye to Ivan. He is also grateful, because as a stray dog who has been living on the streets and often tortured by humans, Ivan Mao allowed her to sleep every night in her cage. Ivan then gave her doll, and his memories after Ivan left later dull. It could be his replacement to accompany Bob to sleep, and they split up. Not long after, Mac entered Ivan's cage there. Mac looked so sad and said that they have had fun with tens. Years ago, he showed me a photo. Ivan is a child he carried on the day when Mac rescued Ivan from the hunters in the forest and take him home the considered day. March was the best day of his life. Mac then says goodbye. He says he will always miss you. Even then, Megpun go after the doctor. Maya asked Ivan to enter in a cage that will lead him into the wild. Ivan Demi slowly entered the cage until everything went dark. Ivan woke up from the drug, the anesthetic, in an empty room. Ivan then tried to break the gate, but the doctor, Maya, immediately calms him down and then opened the gate there. Ivan Demi slowly began to step out. He could finally touch the grass of the wild for the first time. The time after 20 years. He was always in the circus cage. He also saw a lot of trees and flowers. Suddenly, there was another herd of wild gorillas who came to greet him, and then, because feel so happy, he ran up a tree. And there Ivan saw in the distance a herd of elephants that turned out to be Ruby was also there at that time. Ivan realized that he had managed to keep his promise to Stella. And now Ruby is free. They're all free. and the movie ended.